What is up, everybody? Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show. As always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. If it looks different here, it is because my main computer, I'm reformatting it. So it's a different look. So we'll call these the basement conversations. Let's put it that way. Basement conversations with Black Lady. Yes, the Black Lady Magic is here. Dr. Tachi. And Encyclopedia Brown, Leah World Traveler, Leah Armenian, all over the place.
All those things.
All those things, all over the place.
Yeah.
So we're starting a little bit late, a little delayed, but no problem. We're going to be doing at least a 2-part conversation tonight. Wax and hair. So for those who have not been here before, a short introduction. So Dr. Tachi, you go ahead first.
Hello, hello, hello. My name is Dr. Tachi, as they like to call me. I'm a media professor, filmmaker, media content producer, and a journalist. And there are a couple of shows I do that I'll talk about after.
Short and sweet. World traveler?
Similar in that I do a lot. I am a diplomat by day, a writer and speaker by evening, a mom and a wife, and so many other things, which I will also talk about at the end.
Makes sense. And these ladies are way past the Headley's 6th job. So we'll leave it at that. Okay. So how we came about this conversation piece, last week we're having an epic conversation. I think in the after talk, this subject came up and I said, stop the brakes. Even though I don't have what they've got going on, we need to chat about the hair thing. So before we go any further, welcome to Kinte, Luke, Brad, and Patricia, who are live on Get Vocal. Much thanks. So who wants to chat about this? This subject is always an interesting one for many different reasons, from a consumer end and from an industry end. And in a few weeks, hopefully Leah will have an associate of hers come on and talk about an industry take on this. But consumer-wise, ladies, who wants to chat on this one tonight? Who wants to start the conversation?
Leah.
Tachi.
Well,
she got it in first, so
yeah, go ahead. I'm deferring to you first.
You said Leah first. Okay, well, this wasn't my topic, but it's one that's always near and dear to my heart because I've always kind of deferred to wearing my hair natural. And so I've always been a big proponent of it, of just, owning the skin that I'm in and loving it and kind of being proud of that and not being afraid to just be who I am. And so this conversation is really important to me because I feel like as progressive as we are, and as we continue to move much more towards a full embracement of who we are, and being comfortable in our own skin and comfortable wearing our hair natural, I still think that there's segments of our population that struggle to accept that Black is beautiful, that our hair is beautiful in its natural form. And I don't put that entirely on us. I put it still on larger society, because larger society still tells us that wearing dreadlocks or wearing our hair natural or big or however we want to wear it is not considered professional or considered appropriate for the workplace. So as long as that attitude continues to prevail, it's an issue. And it's one that we need to talk about amongst ourselves, because I think we sometimes do this to each other, but also to get to a point where that doesn't really matter. What we look like and how we wear our hair has no reflection whatsoever on the type of professional that we can be or the type of person that we are. And so I think we need to have that conversation and understand the origins of it, but also why we continue to perpetuate certain myths and stereotypes about the Black aesthetic as it relates to our hair.
Okay, Dr. Tachi.
Yes. To all of that.
See, you starting next week, man. So I can do that.
I don't have any argument with what she has to say. She's 100% right. I think the only thing that I would add is that hair is also very political, and it's been politicized, which is why it's so critically important. The big piece of what she said as well is the whole unprofessional thing. And this is something that we've heard quite a bit, not just from outside of our ranks, but also inside our ranks. I think sometimes we melanated people make a bigger deal out of natural hair or wearing our hair in the state that it comes out of our heads than other people do. And this is not to say that it is not ever deemed unprofessional, etc. But I have seen where we make a bigger deal out of it than others. And that's because we have other issues. And hair is indicative of culture. Hair is indicative of the culture that we emanate from. And it was not always seen as a positive to be a person of African descent. And your hair is the most telling feature. Besides your nose, the hair is the most telling feature of where you emanate from. So you know how we've seen people, is it clearly this person is black. You may not look black, but clearly you are, simply because of the hair or some of the features. So that was one feature that indicates where you're from, and it was not always seen as a positive. And so from there, we took the reins of something that we were told was negative, and we made it even more negative. And I think we continue to do so today. Even inside the natural hair movement, there's rubbish. So that's my opening arguments.
Okay, so, and thanks to everyone who's jumped in. So Steph, Dre, thing with dreadlocks, Dre.
Yeah.
The other Leah is in the room too also. So thanks everyone and there is an open seat. So if you want to jump in, that's great. So ladies, do you want to chat about it within Black culture or the reactions outside of Black culture? Which one do you want to?
I honestly think that we should talk about both, but I think we should start within first.
Okay.
Yeah, Chachi and I are on the same page with that, because honestly, to me, that's what matters most, because we are the ones that are perpetuating that.
Okay.
But I do still feel like we need to talk about the external too, because that also is relevant too, since we are still a subset of larger society. So even if we all suddenly got on the same page and said that natural hair is beautiful and it's all good, larger society would take issue with that. And if I wore my hair in locks, as I have had for most of my adult life, at this point, I couldn't be hired in certain federal agencies. So it definitely, and I mean, beyond the public sector, but it's definitely something that I want to talk about. And I think it's because it's criminalized and it's demonized Black hair because it just is different. And so it reminds them of our otherness. So, but anyway, let's talk about inside. Chachi can go first.
See, no, you don't. Look at you.
Only because I want you to get into what you started talking about a little bit last week that I think is really relevant, about the rubbish that you started to mention with the whole 4C and 3C and all that junk. I think that is something.
There we go.
Exactly. I want you to go there, and then I'll jump in.
Before I go there, I need to sip some water because I'm
gonna go ahead and join you in there
because I feel my voice going to get a little dry because of what I'm going to say. So for those who do not understand the whole hair typing thing, and there's probably a lot of people that don't, this was a system of identification for different types of hair. And really it goes from 1 to 4C. And if there's a below a 4C, that probably exists too. So on 1, you've got the straight / very slightly wavy. Hey, Shannon, the straight / very slightly wavy hair. Okay. And then all the way down through the spectrum to the 4C, which is tightly coiled hair of African descent. So that doesn't mean that it's not, and by tightly coiled, the patterns take on a different look. It could be a Z or a S pattern. It could also be a complete spiral. It could be a combination of things. Because I think everybody has combination hair. I have like 3 different textures in my hair, looser in the back and then tighter in the front. So, which makes for interesting styling, but I like it. So that's the hair typing system. And if I want to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, Leah, and I'll look this up. I want to say that it was Oprah Winfrey's stylist that designed this system from 1 to 4C. I believe that's the case, but I'm going to look it up.
I think that sounds right. I mean, don't quote me, but that does sound right.
Okay.
Because I mean, she's been in the game for a while.
Right.
And doing Oprah's hair for a while.
Right.
So I feel like it probably originated with someone who's been around in the business for a while, and that sounds right. But we can confirm with Google.
We'll confirm with Google. Now, just to continue, this hair typing system has made for interesting conversations and contentious relationships, because even within the natural hair community, so now there's this push for natural to wear the hair in the state it comes out of your head, or some reasonable facsimile of that, without either chemically altering or whatever the case may be. Okay. So, but within the natural hair community, it's like you can't win either. So before we get to the hair typing, let's start with color. There are people who in the hoteps, in the natural hair community, who will vehemently tell you that if you have color in your hair, you're not natural. And so there are extremes, just like there are extremes with everything. So there's that band or that camp or that contingency of people. But then you have a preferential treatment. So even though now we all have natural hair, for example, and we're wearing our hair in the state that it's coming out of our heads, not all, but people that have natural hair, I should say, now within the natural hair community, there's the rubbish of certain types of natural hair being highlighted over others. So, and this stems from us still, which still indicates this discomfort we have with Afro textured hair, because it's not. So let's take Leah's texture for beautiful, lovely. That for some in the natural hair community, and when you're highlighting natural hair in the larger media, that is the natural hair that they always tend to highlight. It tends to be a looser curl. It does, it will work with a myriad of the natural hair care products. But then when you come to hair that's more like mine, which is, if we're using the typing thing for A, B, and C, you see less of us in the media. We all, we may tend to be darker skinned as well. So there is this, and that's not always the case, but sometimes there's a crossover there. So there's this whole nonsense and whole rubbish of the type of hair you have within the natural hair community, some of it being more preferred by larger society and by Black people themselves. So that's just a start. I know Leah can take it further.
Yeah. And I'll just, before we move on and also give our new panelists an opportunity to speak, I wanted to confirm that according to Wikipedia, and it's, knowing of everything, you are correct, Tachi, that Andre Walker,
yes, it was Andre Walker,
Oprah Winfrey's stylist from the 90s, is the person who originally created the hair typing system. So yes. And it says here, and this goes towards Tachi's point, that the system has been criticized for an apparent hierarchy which values Caucasian hair over other hair types. So, and that goes exactly to Tachi's point that she literally just said. So I just wanted to
absolutely
add that in there.
Why can't, because I think about it, sorry to interrupt, but the interesting thing is that the less curly hair starts at 1. And there is a psychological feeling you have with being number 1. It just goes without saying that number 1 tends to be higher. Exactly. So I'm like, well, why wouldn't it start backwards? Why wouldn't curlier hair be number 1 and it go all the way?
Exactly, go down.
But again, it fits. Exactly. It doesn't. It's cognitive dissonance. It doesn't fit with our examples of being good hair, which is a whole other conversation.
Oh God, yes.
Well, before we go further and get Shannon into the conversation, I want to shout out to Stacy, shout out to Alex from the Get Vocal team. Thanks for dropping in. Also, Serena Wills is watching on Periscope, and we also have You Foresight for You too watching on YouTube. So thanks everybody. Shannon, I know you want to get in on this one, so please have it. Shannon? There we go.
Well, I mean, we're talking about within our community.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so this is my 3rd time having locks. My first time having them, I was a senior in high school, and I had left play practice, walked 4 blocks to my aunt's shop, and told her to cut all my hair off. Walked back to school, and basically for a week got ridiculed. Why'd you cut all your pretty hair off? I can't believe you did that. Now you're gonna be ugly. I'm like, what? I was like, how is hair defining who I am as a person? Like 3 days ago, I had a hair full of hair, still looked the same in the face. Now I have hardly any hair because I cut it down to my natural hair. Cut out all the relaxer, cut all the perm, whatever you want to call it. And I laugh now because the same people who dogged me in high school about my hair, cutting it off and going natural, are all natural. And I'm like, I mean, you just had to catch up. Yeah, I just knew what I wanted, and I wasn't gonna sit in the shop no more. I could sit in the shop and listen to people gossip without putting chemicals in my hair.
Wow. So Steph is saying longer hair has long been seen as more feminine in general since biblical days.
Mm-hmm. And that's also sort of a world beauty standard too. I mean, I know in my world travels as Leah World Traveler, everywhere I've gone, it's almost synonymous with femininity, and what makes a woman beautiful is all wrapped up in her hair and how long it is. And I've seen in less melanated countries, to our, I guess, east, across the pond, basically, and now also in Latin America, that a lot of my local friends, non-American friends, they all had long hair. I mean, like down to their waist and sometimes longer. And when I talked to them about wanting to cut off my longer than waist length locks, they were all like, you know, totally devastated by that. They're like, don't do it. Don't cut your beautiful hair. Don't do this. Don't do that. I'm like, I'm going to look the same. I mean, it will be different, obviously, to go from more than waist length hair. It's like she just said, same face, same body, same everything. Nothing's going to change. It's time to cut it. I'm ready to cut it. And they just were very devastated by it because, you know, my hair was so long and my locks were beautiful. But it was time.
Yeah.
And it was my decision. So I went ahead and did it. But I was just surprised by that reaction, especially from women who, while non-American, still very progressive, very forward leaning, very powerful, thoughtful, intellectual, educated, all the positive adjectives and attributes you can say. But when it came to aesthetics, it was like, wait a minute, I feel like I was talking to somebody else.
Yeah.
It was really strange. And that came more from my, exactly. And that was more from my female counterparts than the males. They were kind of like, all right, cool. You know, if you want to do that, your locks are gorgeous, but all right, they were more accepting of it. So I was kind of like, what's going on, women? Like, why are we having this conversation? Why is it so, you know, emotional for you, whether or not I cut my hair?
And I mean, vicariously through your hair, like,
yes, exactly.
And they also live.
They were worried for me, like somehow all of a sudden I was going to lose my beauty or lose my whatever because I'm cutting off my hair and it's somehow only in the hair.
Well,
it was very surreal.
Well, sorry to interrupt, but let's look at the fact. Let's look at the fact that a lot of this is also very, shall we say, male centric. So the thought of cutting your hair is like almost in a way removing your beauty, but not the beauty for yourself of what you think about yourself, but what men think about you. Exactly. So we generally exist, you know, in certain camps and in larger society. We have existed for the pleasure of men, at the pleasure of men, basically. And so if long hair is what is deemed beautiful by men and then larger society, that's what you keep. So it doesn't matter how evolved you are. You may be the CEO of a company, you may be this, you may be that, but you